Let's fix this lighting. Today, I'm going to talk about what it's like being an English teacher in Korea. Of course, this is just based on my personal experience. And the one thing I've learned since coming to Korea is that everybody's experience is just so different. It doesn't matter if you live in the same city, even my experience at different schools is so extremely different. Anyways, I'm in my English classroom at my second school right now. I still feel like I have a guest star here. Bill Gates. I have my little list here, and I'm just going to go through it in no particular order. Try to make it as organized as possible. Okay, first thing I'm going to touch upon is the structure of my days and my schools. So here in Chungju, all the EPIK teachers have either 2 or 3 schools. If you have 3 schools, one of them is definitely bound to be further away and more rural. For me, I only have 2 schools, so my main school and my second school. My main school, I was here all year, and my second school, I switched schools halfway through my contract. I personally teach middle school. This term, I teach only middle school boys, so I only have boy students. Last term I had a few girl classes at my second school, so no rhyme or reason. And in Korea, the school semester starts in March and ends in December. Whereas back home, school terms always start in the fall in September, so that's a little bit different. If you're coming through the fall intake, you are going to be entering the school year in the middle of the year as opposed to the beginning of the year. Okay, so my students. I teach elementary school goes up from, I think they start teaching English in grade 3 through to grade 6, and then middle school starts what would be equivalent to grade 7 back home, so 7, 8, and technically the first year of high school, but that's considered grade 1s, 2, and 3 in middle school. So middle school, I teach grade 1, 2, and 3. So these kids are about, I think, 12 to 15 is the age range of my students. It's a real gem being able to teach prepubescent middle school boys. Real special treat. From what I know, there's really no rhyme or reason as to whether you get placed in elementary school or middle school. You might be able to kind of indicate your preference. I would say 80% of EPIK teachers are in elementary schools. It's definitely common, and I would say most people prefer elementary school, but there's really no guarantees. So I think for my city, my province actually, basically the Office of Education tried to put people who made middle school lesson plans on their application. They tried to put those people in middle school. Looking back at my application, I realized I did make a middle school lesson plan. I don't know why, but apparently I was drawn to middle school more than elementary school. So I think that's why they put me in middle school. To be safe, which you're probably already doing for your application, if you want elementary school, make an elementary school lesson plan. If you want middle school, make a middle school lesson plan. If you want high school, make a high school lesson plan. There's really not many high school teachers in EPIK though. So I think all elementary schools are mixed gender. Middle schools can be mixed gender, strictly female or strictly male. For 3rd grade specifically, they separate off the students, even if you're in a mixed school. So last term for my second school, I was in a mixed school, but since I taught 3rd grade there, my girls' classes were separate from my boys' classes. I'm going to put a example of my timetable / school schedule. You are required to teach up to 22 classes in a week. That includes after school class and your regular classes, and how many you will actually teach will depend on your schools. Right now, I think I'm teaching 21, including all my after school classes and all my regular classes. Regular classes for middle school run for 45 minutes, and for elementary school, I believe they run for 40 minutes. I get 10-minute breaks between each class, and we have 7 periods per day. So my school day typically ends at 3:55 and starts at 8:50 a.m. in the morning. At one of my schools, I start at 8:50 in the morning, but my last class ends at 4:05 p.m. because lunch is an extra 10 minutes longer. I heard in elementary school, at least one of my friends, their actual class periods end at like 2:30. Everyone gets school lunches at school. Some schools have better lunches than others. The school I'm at right now actually has the best lunches I've ever had, and also some of the worst students I've ever had. Trade-offs. They charge you like a small monthly fee for lunches, and then you get to eat lunch in the lunchroom with the other teachers and often students. Okay, co-teachers. It's like the mystical unicorn of the EPIK world. I think I'm gonna do a more in-depth video eventually on co-teachers, but for the most part, you're either gonna get a range from co-teachers that are absolutely useless and skip your class. Luckily, I've never had that happen to me before. All luck. Even if they're there, they're not doing anything. You could have co-teachers that are a little more involved, and then it just goes the whole range all the way to really amazing co-teachers, which I've had a few very amazing co-teachers, very luckily. My main co-teacher is amazing, and I feel very grateful for that and appreciative. So, you know, the best co-teachers will help you inside of class and outside of class, and if you're lucky, you'll get that. If not, it'll most likely be somewhere in the middle. Hopefully not on the bad end of the spectrum, but it happens. The number of co-teachers you have will depend on your schools. I had 6 co-teachers last term. This semester I have 4. I've heard people who have had 7 co-teachers at just one school, so that's like well over 10 co-teachers overall. Again, that's really gonna depend on your situation, and I know people that have only 1 co-teacher and 1 school. So again, I can't stress how much variety there is within the EPIK program, and gosh, it's crazy how different every situation is, but it's also really cool at the same time. We get 18 vacation days. Typically it's split with 10 in the winter, being January-ish, and 8 days in the summer, which is around August, early August, I would say. They may not be as flexible as some people might think, just because you have to work around your schools. If you have more than one, you have to work around, you know, both the schools or 3 of your schools to find a time period that works for all of them. And you have to teach your camps also. So the window for you to actually take vacation days is relatively slim. And you typically won't find out when you're taking vacation until pretty close to that date. EPIK teachers also get national holidays off, so those days are good. And I think they call them red days in Korea, because on the calendar, the number will be in red. Another thing for classes, number of students. For middle school, on average, I would say what's normal is about 30 kids in a classroom. That would be the average, the norm. For me, at my main school, my kids are actually separated by English level, which is great. So I have A, B, and C classes. I found that A classes tend to be the biggest, so about 30, 32 students. B classes are usually around 20, and my C classes are typically around 10 students. I think I'm like one of the only people I know, at least, that actually has separated levels, which I find is great. Most people, I would say, their class is mixed level students. So you have kids who can't even read, maybe don't even know the alphabet, all the way to kids who can have a full conversation with you and speak sentences. Next thing on the list, desk warming. I'm pretty sure probably most people have heard of desk warming. It's essentially the hours that you spend at your desk lesson planning or doing nothing, because you don't have classes and maybe you're already finished planning your lessons and have them prepared. Especially during vacation time, when you're not on vacation and after you're done camps during the day, where no one else is at school, you'll be desk warming. You're required to be at school from, you know, your contractual 8 hours. For me, my days start at 8:30, I have to be at school, and then I get to leave at 4:30. So those are my hours, and I have to be at school during those times. If I'm not teaching, I'm still sitting at my desk. So I would say typically for the first month or so, you're still adjusting, you're learning how to teach. Even this semester, which is my second semester teaching, I'm much more comfortable teaching, but I just felt so constantly behind because my schedule's a little bit busier this term, and also I just felt constantly tired. My desk warming day, like the days I have more desk warming are towards the end of the week or a Monday. So at the end of the week, I really don't feel like planning all my lessons, but I'm most comfortable having my lessons for the entire next week ready the week before I have to teach it. And so I would say it usually takes about a month for me to get to that point where I'm very comfortable with how many lessons I'm ahead of in terms of planning. Once you're ahead of your work, desk warming it can be really boring. When I first came here, it was awkward to just either like sit there and not seem like I'm working, or be too scared to like do anything other than schoolwork. But I think as the months go by, you kind of just get used to it, and you know that the other teachers in the office, if he's in the office, know that you don't really have other work to do. So, you know, try to be productive with your desk warming time. I often just like scroll through the internet. Sometimes I chat with friends, and this is only when I'm like have nothing to do. Or at some points I'll even bring a book and read a book at my desk, those kind of things. Clearly I'm desk warming right now because I don't have any classes. Okay, next thing. So I'm a part of a POE, the Chungbuk province of Provincial Office of Education, and we get monthly assignments from our head of the POE. So he'll give us assignments every month, and then you just do them. They're usually not too hard, but just let you know. I'm not sure how the other MOEs and POEs work. Like I know in Busan they get mentors from their Office of Education, so you get hooked up with someone to be your mentor. I think every province is very different, but if you end up in the same province as me, you'll probably get monthly assignments. The last thing I want to talk about, Korean surprises. Oh, Korean surprises. Everyone hears about this thing called the Korean surprise. And even though you know it's gonna happen to you, it's still a surprise. So things like schedule changes last minute, not knowing about things, not hearing about things, is a totally real thing. How often you get surprised will probably depend on how great your co-teacher is. Very good co-teachers, like my main co-teacher, will try their very best to keep us updated, let us know when there's any schedule changes, let us know when there's, you know, anything happening at school. My co-teacher's great with doing that. I know some other co-teachers aren't. Sometimes maybe you'll show up to class and none of your students or co-teacher will be there. Or maybe you'll go into school and all of your classes are canceled that day. Or maybe you'll go and, oh shoot, you're teaching 5 more classes than you expected. Exaggerating, that's never happened to me before. But you just never know sometimes. So, you know, be proactive, ask questions. I tend to like to ask questions ahead of time, you know. And a lot of times it's either maybe your co-teacher just forgot, the teachers forgot, or when my co-teacher doesn't have the answer to something, it's not because she's just, or if my co-teacher hasn't told me something, it's not just because she forgot to tell me or doesn't want to include me, but it's literally that she just does not have the answer. A lot of times even our co-teachers don't know the answer to things, so they find out a lot of things last minute as well, and thus of course we would find out things last minute. But if you have a co-teacher that's not proactive about it, you'll just have to take on that role to make sure you constantly ask them what's happening, what's going on. And my fingers are crossed for everyone to get co-teachers that are at least half decent. It's so important to come in here knowing that you have to be open-minded and you have to be flexible, because these kind of things are going to happen. There's already communication barriers. Don't worry about it too much. Just be flexible with it. Take it easy. If your classes get canceled, celebrate. And if not, just roll with the punches and wing it. Okay, well, that is all I can think of for now. There's really only so much I can say, but that is the information that's at least what I've experienced. So hopefully that helps in some way or another. Please reach out to me, leave a comment below if you have any specific questions, or if something wasn't clear to you in the video. I will get back to you as soon as possible, and I will see you guys in the next video.